My name is Merlin Wagler, sales rep here at K&K. If you guys are used to seeing Greg or Dave Schwartz, Jason, Alvy, or Eddie and what they do, I'm one of those. Glad you're here today. In 1970, Abe and Viola Knepp, Viola, raise your hand if you will. Hi, Viola. Started on this location a grocery store, feed mill, I guess a few other things. And in 1972, we're looking to expand the company and was considering building cabinets, is what I understand. And they was talking to someone who was building cabinets, and that fellow told him, if I was going to do something or expand, I would begin to build roof trusses. Remember, this is 1972, and that was sort of a new concept. That's what Abe did, and Nelson told me yesterday that some of the first customers, or the first set of trusses that he tried to sell, he basically, I think Nelson used the word begged them to buy them. In 1980, 8 years later, the building that you're in here completely burned. The offices were over there, and I think there was an additional building or so, but this main building here burned. And in 2005, we had a tornado that took everything, flattened, and built back. And this past year, 2016, was in gross sales the largest year that K&K's ever had. So we have been blessed, to say the least. I'm going to turn a corner here a little bit. We've gone from kind of inspirational information to a little more technical. We're going to talk about some of the products from K&K. But just so I have a feel for who's here today, if you've either used trusses, bought trusses from K&K, or products from K&K for the last, over 20 years, can you raise your hand? Yeah, several of you, a lot of you actually. How about 10 years? 10 years or 10 to 20? Yeah, okay. And some of you, this is the first time you've ever been here. This is all brand new. Not too many of you? Okay. That helps me out. All right, great. I'm not going to be like Tom. I do have notes. And I noticed not only did he know the guiding principles which he lived by, but he didn't have to have notes to remind him of what those were. I like that. I like that. I'm going to be referring to some things in your folder. So if you got that folder there in front of you, you might open that up, and we're going to be talking about some of the things that are in there. One of the handouts that you have in there is this, just a general overview of the products that K&K has available. And we're going to start, the first one, you can have it out and you can just look at it, but you can refer to it. But the first one we're going to talk about is roof trusses. It's the first thing that Abe, when he started in 1972, roof trusses were what he started with. They have been the primary business of K&K, and it looks to be in the future still the primary bread and butter, nuts and bolts part of K&K is roof trusses. Now we do a number of other things, but roof trusses are still our primary business. We do, I'm going to try this. It works, yeah. We do a number of different types of roof trusses, custom to simple trusses. It's a pretty custom home you're seeing there. He's got hip trusses written there. We can match up to I-joists, different levels of floors. When you see the bottom quarter of a room in the attic, we have LSL that matches the floor joist. We can also use that LSL. You'll see it in girders, and you guys have set some trusses that bear on the top cord bearing. We use LSL a lot. We have that capability. LP, which you're going to hear from today, and their engineered wood provides that. You can see there's some scissor trusses here. We can use trusses as truss headers over long spans. You probably use some of those if you've built especially pole barn type structures or larger commercial type projects. The in your handouts, there is a paper that looks like this. It's truss terminology. And being in my little survey, most of you guys are familiar with trusses. I'm not going to bore you with this, but just a few things that you can see in there on that front page there, the first to front. It's just different terminology, and sometimes you'll hear us refer to different things on a truss. And I just know I had recently had somebody that was matching up to an existing structure, and we asked for the heel height. And he told me later, after the trusses were wrong, that he didn't know what the heel height was. He didn't know what I meant when I said heel. And he gave me a dimension, or I think he gave Wally a dimension, and it wasn't, and that didn't work. Well, like I said, when I asked him later, he said, well, I didn't know what you meant whenever you said heel. So anyway, the heel is down in the left-hand corner there. It's blown up over on the right-hand side. That is simply the dimension on the outside of the wall straight up. That is the heel, and that's an important dimension if you're, especially if you're matching up. One thing that's happened, the building code in conditioned area asks that you have R30 above the outside wall for insulation. If you're going to do that, that heel will need to be raised if you're going to blow in insulation. Excuse me, I don't want to cough in this. Nelson left if you have to mute me. But anyway, you can raise that up to about 10 inches. You put your 1-inch air baffle in there. It leaves you about 9 inches. We can get your R30 on blown insulation. That's something you can do over just your standard 1/4-inch butt cut. That's going to add about 8 to 10% of your cost. And in the areas that I work, that's a question that you guys that are used to working with me, I ask that all the time. And majority of the folks that want that energy efficiency. So we can raise that heel up on the end and get you some added benefit there for your to get an R30 or to get the insulation value that you want. The span, the panel points, if you're looking across there, you got panel lengths, span, bottom chord, top chord, web. Obviously, you guys are familiar with that. I'm not going to bore you with a lot of those information. But on the back of this, there's different types of trusses. If you call in and say, I want a studio vault, or I want a vault or a tray, dual pitch truss, just a number of different options there that's available. Over here on this table, there's some more information on the different types of trusses that we can do. So you can avail yourself to those. I thought I would kind of try to address in each of these areas frequently asked questions that I get concerning these different areas. And one of them that I get, especially this time of the year, I got an existing home and says, how can I get some storage to put and I hear this a lot. I just want to store Christmas stuff, Christmas lights, Christmas trees up above my attic. Is there a way to do that now that I have just a standard truss up there? And honestly, it's really hard. And we can do it. It basically becomes, when you cut a truss, I always just say, you basically have stick framing up there. And so we're going to add some beams, add some joists, do some things in there to accommodate extra storage. It's a lot easier if you do it up front, and it doesn't cost you much. You can put nothing else. You can spread the web on the truss. We can put a little bit larger cord, usually a 2x6 on the bottom cord, for a pretty inexpensive amount of money, and you can get more. You can get some storage space above your garage, or for that matter, other areas of your house. But the garage is a nice place. You can put a pull down, or you can build a stair up there if you want to get something a little steeper. You can access it. But that's just one thing. Yes, sometimes you can do it after the fact, but it's cheap to do it up front, just to make some value. Ceiling separation. This time of the year, we hear that a lot. And this year it's not been too bad, thankfully. It's not been tremendously cold. There's another handout in there that talks about ceiling separation. On every truss order that you get from us, one of these comes in a packet and explains what ceiling separation is, different causes for it. It's not always the truss. Sometimes it can be. Sometimes definitely is. And I've seen many of those over the years. If you look on the back of this page, it talks about how to attach your drywall or your sheetrock drywall and the floating corners, floating joints. Avail yourself to that. This is very good information. And again, every truss that you get, one of these are in a packet that you get with your delivery copies that just talks about ceiling separation. Basic ceiling separation, we have a booth set over here that we'll be talking about that. We can show you. Basically what happens is the top cord expands, and because the truss works together, it pulls that bottom cord up when it's cold. When it's warm, it comes back down and it relaxes. And we have set up a display over here showing how to attach that drywall, and so that it'll float, that corner will float. And so come over here, Eddie and I will show you that at break or between the sessions. Again, I said if you want to have energy efficiency, you can raise that heel up on the end of the truss. It's going to add some cost to your job, but yes, that can be done. And I get asked a lot. I got a scissor. Max that out. Push that bottom cord pitch as much as you can. And there's a balance there. And if you've got a flat pitch top cord 412, you're not going to be able to really push that bottom cord pitch much over. Usually half of it, 2 is a good rule of thumb. If you get a little bit steeper on a shorter span, yeah, we can push that up, especially if you have a raised heel. Because what happens is, if that truss comes down, it pushes out. You get horizontal deflection. You get a crack up in that ceiling. You get a crack right down the middle there. It pushes that wall out. You get cracks in your drywall. Nobody wants callbacks. We don't like that. You don't like that. And so just remember that whenever we say, no, you really can't do that. Yes, we're conservative, but we kind of have seen the bad results of a deflecting because you don't have enough depth. Your bottom cord is too steep versus the top cord. There is a limit of what we can do, and usually, again, half of the outside pitch is a good rule of thumb, and then we can sometimes push that, and sometimes, according to what the truss is, we might have to go even less than that. There's not you can't apply a principle for every time you get a truss. We've got just different options. We can do arch trusses. You can see those there. This truss over here has got, this truss here's got a catheter with a flat spot built into it off of a hip. I'm talking about this one right here. This has got an arch built in it. Those are some things we can do. Here's some large timber trusses that we've done. Get some special engineering from my tech on those. The floor trusses. Scott is going to be giving some information on floor trusses here after a while, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on floor trusses. Floor trusses are used usually on floors over long spans. You can get some duct work in there. You can see you can hide some duct work. You can hide some plumbing. This is a chase that's built into the truss right here. You can see all the mechanicals that's going through those floor trusses. That's nice. Some markets really use a lot of them. I know you all do down in Owensboro, David, right? You use a lot of floor trusses. Other areas use a lot of I-joists, which we're going to talk about later. But if you have long spans or you have an area where you want to try to get rid of your duct work and finish your ceiling, or at least not have anything hanging below your ceiling, floor truss can be a good option for you. We also have trimmable ends that we can do. You can see this here. This can be trimmed on 45-degree angles or angles where trusses are sticking out. Those are really work well because you can trim those to the exact length. No, you can normally not cut a floor truss. Only if you see this. That doesn't mean that back in here you can cut one of those webs. That is not the just because that particular truss has that on it doesn't mean anything else can be cut on there. Floor trusses are well, I can't think of a really good situation, maybe one where you can cut like a top cord or something over a bearing, but don't cut anywhere unless you make sure that you've talked to Larry and he says it's okay. The questions that we have, I hear a lot of, my webs don't line up. and I'm wanting to get some additional space in there. Probably turn backwards, because we design those normally from one side of the house all the way through. We will line up those webs. And Larry usually has them paint one end of the truss a color. Where's Larry? We confer, let's make sure that's right. But he usually has them paint one end of the, paint one end of that truss, and then your layout also is painted that way. Turn the truss the right way, because especially if you want to have ductwork in there, it's important that those webs line up. I've got this here. Yes, we can build chases into the truss, but within these truss webs, assuming they're lined up, you can see, like here's a 16-inch floor truss. You can get a 12 by 6 rectangular area in there. Here you can get here's a round 10-inch round ductwork or something through, and that's huge if you've got a bunch of ductwork, etc. Those webs need to line up, and the deeper you go, obviously, the more room you have for ductwork. And now we can build like a square chase in the center third normally, up to usually around 2 feet. Is that fair, Steve? 2 feet or less? Yeah. And that can get you back to what I was talking about right here. That's a chase. It's actually built in, and those are nice. It's nice and square. And again, you need to turn them the right way so they line up. But then also, as I said, you have these other areas that you can put a supply or a return in if you need to. And again, Scott's going to be discussing more about floor trusses and strong backs. Strong backs is there is in your folder. Talks about strong backs. Strong backs is something that Scott's going to be talking about here, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time. It's basically just it's not a brace, but it acts as a transfer of force uniformly through you need to put those in about every 8 to 10 feet, and yes, they need to be in there. If you set remain floor trusses, you don't want to do them without the strong backs. Well, here's just some things that were trimmed. You can see here they just kind of cut the bottom cord out. Here, this bottom cord of the truss has just been cut out. Those are no-nos, of course. Most of you, if you've been around as long as most of you have, you know you don't cut a truss. And if you do, you probably need to call us. Not probably, you need to call us before you do it. Okay, it's always nice to get a call heads up before you cut it, then after you cut it, oh, by the way, these are cut. What can we do? We'll work with you either way, but it's obviously better if you call before you cut. Wall panels, we're building a bunch of those right now, honestly. Travis is set up back here. Travis handles those here, and especially in the multi-family type settings. And we'll do the rough trusses, wall panels, floor trusses, I-joist, whatever the situation might be. It's good. We can work together, coordinate from the top down, the loads, track them down through, and using those wall panels and save, obviously, time on the job, waste. We coordinate all that together. I'm going to move on here. I-joist. Back in the mid-'80s, K&K took on engineered wood, and I was just talking to a couple guys back here earlier today. Jim Miller, if you guys remember Jim Miller, if you've been around here a while, some of you guys would remember Jim. Was somebody that worked here. He helped to get that started. He passed away, unfortunately, about a little over 8 years ago. He was a good friend and colleague, and but just a good man. But anyway, we have I-joist in 9.5, 11 7/8, 14 16 inch deep, up to 64 feet long. And there might be an application where you would need a 64-footer over multiple bearings, and we can do that if you need to, especially 9.5, 11 7/8. Floor joists can be used, obviously, for floor. Here they're using application as a rafter. If you've ever used rafters, I-joist is rafters. It's a lot of, it can be quite a bit of work. You need to use some extra hardware. We have LSL, long length LSL now, which is a good option because you can bird's mouth and not have the hardware that you have with I-joist, but you can use I-joist as a rafter, if you desire that. One thing's nice about I-joists, like I said, those long lengths, you can go across bearings, multiple bearings. Actually improves the performance of the joist, and takes some of the potential for squeaks out because they're straight. You're not overlapping like you would a 2x10, etc. We do have 11 7/8 42 series, which is a 3.5-inch flange. It'll span about 20 feet. What's good about that is if you got a long span area like a 20-foot span in a basement, and instead of going to a 14-inch and the whole house be 14-inch, which is more expensive than your 11 7/8 20 series, the 32 series that we would use, you can zone frame with that 42 series 11 7/8, go up to around 20 feet according to where it's at, what it's doing. And then you can go back to the little less expensive 11 7/8 in the rest of the house. That's something that's really an advantage that we've picked up in the last couple of years. Questions I get a lot. Can you drill holes in I-joists? There should be some knockouts on the I-joist, 1.5-inch holes that you can knock out. Those you can use, obviously. But yes, you can cut holes in joist. There is, with every delivery of I-joist or LVL, and you don't have one of these with you today in your packet, but when you get it in your packet of delivery copy, there is this 24x36 LP solid start engineered wood products installation manual. One side's Spanish and one side is English. You can choose which one you can read the best, but it shows you very specifically. It's basically this chart here, and what it does, it shows you can either cut a round hole or a rectangular hole. Round holes are better, but you can find the joist size, 11 7/8 for the 20, 32 series. You can follow across what the span is, how far from the bearing it is to the center of the hole, how big a hole you can cut. You can never cut closer than, I think it says a 1/4 inch. I tell my folks never more closer than a 1/2 inch from that flange. If you got a question about cutting holes in joist, you can always call us. We can help you with that. I recommend to my customers, take this and post it on a wall somewhere in your house that you're building, and it's just there. And you got a plumber, electrician, etc. wants to cut a hole, drill a hole. They've got this. They got this available to see. You can use that. So that is there for your use. Get a question a lot. What will they span? 9.5 up to max about 16 foot on a single span. 11 7/8 20 series 17.5 feet. 32 series 18.5 feet. The 42 series 11 7/8 with the 3.5-inch flange, again about 22 foot on the 14-inch. These are at 16-inch centers, okay? And then at 16-inch deep, around 24. You can put them over a garage, build a knee wall on it, rafter. Usually at 24 foot, you're okay with that 16-inch deep I-joist. Just gives you an overview. Again, we're going to design at probably L over 600 on your floors, which means that they're stiffer than code, or 480 is pretty much minimum that we'll design at. And you can talk to some of the guys in the I-joist booth back there if you want to know what that means. I'll move on here. LVLs, laminated veneer lumber, is something that we use a lot of here. Usually they're used in garage door headers, beams in your basement over where you have posts that are pretty far apart. They're we have them 1 3/4 and 3.5, which allows you to have a 7-inch beam with a 3.5-inch center, 1 3/4 on either side, and you can still nail them together. By the way, just for your information, how to nail it together, I get asked that a lot. On this sheet, on this page, it talks about how to nail together. It usually says up to 11 7/8, 11 7/8 greater, 2 rows, a foot on center on the bottom, foot on center on top, alternating. If you're greater than, I think it's 11 7/8, it's 3 rows, but it tells very specifically here how to nail them together or attach them together. If you have that, issue. We can have those up into 52 feet. So if you have a issue of a long beam, if you can handle them, we can do those in 3.5 inch up to 52 feet. LSL. Well, just another. This is something that Eddie took a picture of. These come out of the factory at about 4% moisture. They have a site coat on them to keep the moisture off short term. But if you got a situation where water is getting to an LVL, this is one that was taken out that had been in about 15 years, but you can see what's happened. It's rotted. They do need to stay dry. LSL is something that we've picked up here in several years ago now, but laminated strand lumber. Again, rafters, great application for long rafters. LSL can use it because you can bird's mouth, you can get long lengths, they're nice and straight. The zone framing behind kitchen cabinets, bathrooms, vanities, great use of LSL. People call them OSB studs. Stair stringers, you can use it for stair stringers. Shorter headers, just general headers. It's a great opportunity to stock, if you're a lumber yard here, to stock LSL and send them out as headers. We have them in 1 3/4. Actually have an 1.5 inch that we use in our trusses as well, but 1 3/4 and also 3.5. You can use those for, back up here, use them for headers. And then in tall wall applications, great, we can engineer those as well. So if you have a 2-story with an open area, you got several windows in it, just like this is, LSL, we have those in 3.5, 5.5, 7.25, 9.5, 11 7/8, 14 inch, and 14 inch, that's the maximum we have, but we have those in 1.5 inch, 1 3/4, and 3.5. So if you're wanting to have headers, we have them in a full 3.5. It's solid. You don't need to nail it together. It's a good option for you. Again, questions, can you drill holes in beams? If you don't have to, probably prefer that it's not a first option that you do, but yes, you can drill holes in beams. And if you go back again to this page, it talks about not only I-joist, how to nail them together, but it also gives you options on where and how big you can drill holes in beams. It's usually in this center third. It's in the center third horizontally, center third vertically, right there. You can drill a hole. You can drill up to you can drill an 1.5 inch hole, or up to 9.5, or a 2-inch hole up to anything over 9.5 in that center third, vertically and horizontally. That doesn't mean a 4-inch hole. Doesn't mean it never can, but definitely don't cut it unless you ask us. Okay, we'll get somebody to engineer that for you. In this area B here, you can drill a 3/4 inch hole in that area B there. These are beams that are uniformly loaded. I mean, it's got a joist coming along on both sides, or on one side, but it's uniformly loaded. If you see a great big old girder sitting on top of there, or an area where you got another beam setting on top of it, where it's got a concentrated load, this is all off. This is for only uniform loaded beams. Okay, but yeah, you can cut some holes. And again, if you just post that on the wall somewhere in your house, and you can just go to that, and you can see where you can cut. It's very detailed what you can or cannot cut. Anyway, that's an option for you. Back in 2009, we picked up. Began selling Smart Side from LP, primed, and then later in April 2013, we started our own K-line pre-finishes Smart Side. I know many of you are using that, and it's been a good segment of our business that we've started. But LP, Louisiana Pacific Smart Side, you have lap, 16-foot lengths in fiber cement, etc. It's 12-foot lengths, 33% fewer joints. You can get panel. This is a panel, well, probably a panel with some board and batten. It can be 4x8, 4x9, 4x10. You can have those. The trim, there were some shakes in here somewhere probably. Where did I see a shake? That's probably a shake. Shakes up in your gables. You see those a lot? Hey, John. I haven't seen John for a while. How you doing, John? And the storage barns, things like that. This is a good option. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on the smart side. We're going to be talking about that more here later. Some other things we have. Subfloor OSB from LP. Also, Tech Shield, the Radiant Bearer roof sheathing. I know there's some areas here that use that a lot. Reduces the amount of heat into your attic, which increases your energy efficiency in your home. And something that's going to be talked about today and later is LP Flame Block. It's a fire-rated OSB sheathing that you can use, especially in multi-family applications where you have party walls, demising walls that have to be fire-rated or fire code. It's a good option for that. But we'll, I know break's coming up. I don't want to keep you guys too long here. Hangers, we have USB hangers. We have a booth back here of those as well. We have a number of hangers available. Remember, though, in our inventory, we have them mostly for things that we use, like I-joist, top mount hangers, face mount hangers, or beams, 3.5 inch, 1 3/4, or 7 inch, 5 1/4. We can do them inverted flange, which is nice, like on porches, or some applications around stairways. We can invert the flange or we have those available in some applications. Of course, 1.5 inch for trusses, multiple options for trusses, and this here is a hanger for like at a ridge on a stick frame situation, skewed, and then we can skew it and slope it. Number of different options on that. Or we can custom order hangers as well for you if you have other applications. MyTech stabilizers, I think I saw some of those back there as well. MyTech stabilizers are the 2-foot or 16 inch on center. They can stay on as opposed to using your nailers bracing for your trusses. It's a good quick way to set your trusses. When you get a quote from us on a house, majority of the time you're going to see a layout like this, especially if you have a custom order. You're going to see a layout like this. We do need a plan, like I said here, in order to do that. There's common questions that I ask almost every time when I get those, and sometimes folks know, don't. We're going to need to know what the overhang is. Again, that heel situation. Do you want that heel raised so that you get some energy efficiency? Because that's going to make about 8 to 10% difference on your costs, more if you raise it. Ceilings. Is there going to be a cathedral ceiling anywhere? Do you want a tray ceiling somewhere? What storage of your garage? Things we need to know. In your floors, do you want us to provide the beams? Are you going to put steel in there? Are you going to actually, excuse me, you going to build the walls that show on the plan or not? There's going to be an open basement unfinished. We need beams. We just need to know, do you want us to do those? Are you going to use the bearing walls? Can we use bearing walls? Just questions in order for us to do a good engineered layout, starting from the top. Gravity goes down, of course, starting at the top, tracking the loads down through. And we do that for you. And so whenever you're getting a quote from us with a layout, you're really getting more than just a number. You're getting a layout that shows that this is how it can be done. It can be engineered, the floor system as well. And I'm sure that since most of you guys have been with us for a long time, and other companies for that matter, we're going to call you and going to ask a lot of questions, but that's because we're wanting to make sure that what you get as a quote will work, and you know that it's engineered and it's okay. And we come back with these big notes on there. If ordered, need to verify this ceiling can't be like this, or this beam is going to have to be moved. This wall in the basement might need to be moved a foot one way or the other, or something like that. And those notes, look for them. They are important. That's just things that need to be worked out, or will be worked out at the time of the quote. And it does take time. If you just want a quick quote, just want a rough quote, we can do that. But what we find is most of you don't really like that, at least not in my area. You would like to have this layout. If for nothing else, you want to know the square foot of the roof and how much overhang, etc. And if we don't do a layout, we can't give you that. So you're getting a layout and a floor layout usually with it, either I-joist or floor trusses. Shows where you need to have piers, where you need to thicken your slab, where you need to make sure that you have bearing condition. And that does take time. Sometimes you send in a garage, we can do that just really quick, or a addition. Those are things that are pretty easy to do. But if you're sending a custom house like this, likely there's others that we need to do before it, probably, not always, but it takes some time to do that and to do it right and to get all the information for you. Just some things that are available. Our website, kktrust.com. Go there, some information for you. If you have a customer that's needing to know some information, got some links there to some LP, Louisiana Pacific things. There's also just some information basically about trusses. Also literature. We have an unbelievable amount of literature that we can give to you, and most of the lumber yards have that. If you're a customer of K&K's, have that available to give out. And if you don't have that, talk to your sales rep and they can get you some. If you have a contractor or a lumber yard, you have open houses, appreciation days, you want to have tabletops like some of these we have here, we can come to those as well. Glad to help you with those, or get our products in front of your customers. Also, this trailer you're seeing set over here, that is portable. It's got a number of different options on smart side, pre-finished. It's also on the inside. It's got some engineered wood products, even a truss in there. So that's something we can take to your show if you like, and it's been something that's been popular in many locations. So that is available. Some of you, I know, have seen that, and we redid it here, a year ago? Brad, again, just put a whole new set of different types of siding and stuff on it, different colors. So that is available for you to use as well. Thank you for your time.